So already we completed 2 sessions. In the first session, it's all about introduction about the course. The second session, we discussed what is the meaning of fusion. Okay, from which different products Oracle created fusion applications we discussed. And what is the meaning of on-premise and cloud? Here we focused on cloud. What does it mean by cloud? Taking servers from Oracle, that to virtual servers we call as a cloud. If any company is going to use Oracle Fusion applications, what are the different cloud options are available for the companies? Those points also we discussed. Here we discussed SaaS, PaaS, IaaS. In the SaaS, you cannot do the customizations. When you say customization, we are referring here page customizations. And when you talk about PaaS, here you can do the page customizations also. If you use SaaS, the advantage is your environment can be upgraded automatically to the latest whenever you want, whenever Oracle come up with the latest releases. And in PaaS, that should be done through manual process. Auto upgrade is not possible. When you talk about IaaS just storage space. So any data you want to store or any applications you want to install, you can take the storage space from Oracle as an IaaS subscription. And we discussed when we do the implementation for any company, how many instances we get from Oracle. We discussed we get 2 instances. One we use for a testing purpose. The second one we can use for production. If any company is going to subscribe PaaS subscription, that means they want to do some new page development, new pages they want to create with the help of technical consultants. So in such kind of scenarios, they can get one more instance from Oracle. That would be the paid subscription, or else they can use the test instance for a development purpose also. So this is how you can use the instances from implementation project. Apart from that, you can find the instance called as vision instance. Vision instance means here you can find the sample data. When you talk about test instance, development and production, these are the different purposes why we use these instances. Here you don't find any sample data. When we deal with vision instance, Oracle will provide vision instance for consulting companies who are implementation partners for them. So within that sample data would be there. The sample data you can see with the company name called as vision. Okay, for sample data, the company name they taken as a vision. That is the reason the instance itself we call as vision instance. So these are the points we discussed. So when you talk about customization, it could be page creation or report creation or integration. And integrations means connecting third-party application with the fusion applications we call as integration. So that is possible in case of SaaS or PaaS also. Only page customization is not allowed in the SaaS. In PaaS, that is allowed. And when you talk about the fusion applications in SaaS and PaaS, you see as it is, no difference. In case of PaaS, if you take the PaaS subscription, only the difference is you will get the privileges. Oracle will allow you to create the additional pages. Apart from that, there is no difference with respect to applications. Applications remain same for SaaS and PaaS. Only the provisioning permissions will be granted in case of PaaS to do the new page developments. To create the new pages, there will be option in case of PaaS. So this is what we discussed in the last session. Any questions from last 2 sessions, please? From the last 2 sessions, what are the points we discussed? Any questions from anyone, please? If no questions, directly we can jump into the other points to understand and to see in the instance also. Any questions from anyone, please?
Good morning, Lakshman. For the PaaS, because they have a development, that means the database access is also given in case of PaaS.
In case of SaaS also, you'll get database access. In our classes, we'll see how to access the
Database.
the database we will see in our classes also.
Okay. Thank you, Lakshman.
Yeah, only the difference is here in both cases you'll get database access. Since you are going to create the new pages in the database, you can create the tables also. New tables, new schemas you can create, which is not possible in the SAS.
So SAS, they only give you the view only mode, is it? The
Correct,
database?
correct. Yes.
Okay.
You can retrieve the data and you can see. That's all.
Okay.
Good morning, Lakshman.
Yeah.
So
come on.
how do we decide that we have to go with SAS, PAS or IAS?
So before we enter into the project as a consultant, there will be sales and pre-sales teams from every company. So they will look at that client business, how they are doing, how that Fusion applications are available. So they need SAS or PAS. The sales pre-sales team will decide. So that's how the decision will be taken care by sales and pre-sales teams. And once the project is awarded to our company, so we'll involve in the project execution. That's all. We don't decide. That is a job of sales and pre-sales teams. We are going to work as a consultant. So very simple. How they decide? So they look at the business process, what the company is following. That process can be fit into Oracle provided Fusion applications. Then they'll choose SAS. Certain process cannot be handled by using the Fusion applications which Oracle is providing. In such kind of scenarios, they suggest to the client to go with PAS. So that what process is not fitting into Fusion, that they will customize. They'll provide by creating the custom pages. This is what we have to understand.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, thanks. Any other questions?
Yeah, Lakshman, if we go as an implementation consultant, and then if you also involved in some kind of solution designing or gap analysis between what is as is available as a solution in Oracle vis-a-vis the business process, then this information would be useful, right? And you really need to know what is that gap to be able to decide whether you want to go in for SAS or PAS.
See, simple. See that direct point, we cannot say anything. When you are working and when you are in the sales or pre-sales, you'll go and meet some client. You will propose to use the Fusion applications. You will tell them, if you are interested, we are ready to help you. Then if they are interested, they will allow you to look into their business process. Okay. So it would be useful, but when you are working as a consultant, no. So if you are okay with the product, if you are interested in that area, you talk to your like practice and to move. I mean, you can request them to move you like into the function called as sales or pre-sales, so that you will get an opportunity. Being a consultant, you will never get that opportunity. That's a different.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
Any other questions before we proceed?
Lakshman, one question here. For
Yeah.
this as a PAS model, right? If we develop any of a new report or new page or anything,
Yeah.
so I mean, how do we deploy them to any of these environments? Because normally technical team will be developing it, and in Artwell, normally technical team will be developing it, and after thorough SIT and UAT testing, right? We DBA team will migrate it into production. But with the limited action, how the deployment is happening?
Yeah. So the reports and the pages, what we create, okay, if you say you did this customizations and all in the, say like in the test instance, if you want to move those to production instance, we have a separate process. In two ways it can be managed. The technical people can do that. The components, they can move from one instance to another instance. There is a functional there is a simple process. The second option is the DBS always can do it. But in case of Fusion, we generally, the technical consultants will do this activity. Technical consultants can do this activity. It's very simple. when we write SQL query, I'll show you if you want to understand that, how you can take the backup of the custom reports, how you can upload into the targeted instance. I'll just touch base on that if you want to understand. That is not our job, but technical consultant, just for information purpose, I'll take you through that.
Okay.
Two options are available. Functional technical people can do, or else DB also can do. So it's a very easy in the Fusion, taking the backup of this customizations and moving to other instance. So any other questions from last two sessions, please? Okay, no questions. So in today's session, let's talk about accessing the instance. Okay, in case of implementation project, when we work as a consultant, we work as a functional consultant, that to Oracle Fusion Cloud Financials functional consultant. When we work as a consultant in the project, we need access to instance. Initially, we use the test instance only. Directly, we don't work on the production instance. We use the test instance. When Oracle will provide the instance to us, they'll provide one default user. They'll provide one default user, that is FA admin. FA stands for Fusion Applications and Admin, Administrator. So when we are part of any implementation project, you'll get the instance URL and you'll get the default username and password. For every instance, the default username is FA admin. Password Oracle can set and they can provide to the clients. So there won't be any default password. So there will be default user. They'll set the password and they'll provide that credentials to the client. And some instances, they don't give access to FA admin. They create separate user and they'll provide the user. With that user, we log into the instance and we create our own user and we'll start working on the implementation project. If you are going to work as a consultant, we need full privileges to the instance. We need full privileges to the instance. If you want to get the full privileges to the instance, as a user, what kind of privileges, what kind of access need to be provided, that you can decide with the concept called as roles. If you are going to work as a consultant, you have to connect to the instance. When you connect to the instance, you need certain roles. With the help of roles only, you can do anything within the Fusion applications. So when you create the user, okay, when you create the user, to that user, we have to assign the roles. Okay, to the user, what we have to do, we have to assign the roles. So what roles we have to assign to the user so that with that user, we can work as an implementation consultant. The roles are application implementation consultant. We have to assign application implementation consultant role to user, as well as we have to assign IT security manager. We have to assign these two roles to any user. Two roles to any user. Why we have to assign these two roles? If you assign application implementation consultant role to any user, that user can perform the setups in the system. So that user can perform the setups. The user can perform the setup. Which is setups? Any application related setups. Say there is one user called as ABC, and you assign the role called as application implementation consultant. From that ABC user, you can do any setups in the instance. You want to implement payables, yes, you can implement. You want to implement receivables, you can implement. You want to implement general ledger application, yes, you can implement. Any application you can implement. That means any application related setups you can do. How we can do any application related setups? The application implementation consultant role will allow the user to do setups for any application. So what is the purpose of IT security manager? If you have access to IT security manager role, you can create the new users and you can manage the roles in the application. With the help of IT security manager role, what we can do is you can create new users and you can manage the roles. Okay, manage the roles means you can create the user. The user is going to work for which application, you can assign the application specific roles. Okay, the people who are going to work for payables application, for those users, we have to assign the payable related roles. Who are working for receivables department, we have to assign the receivables roles. For each application, we have a separate roles. With those roles, we can perform the transactions. But now we are not talking about application specific roles. If you are going to work as a consultant to do the implementation, what are the basic roles required? Those are two. One is application implementation consultant. Second one is IT security manager. With the application implementation consultant, you can do any application related setups. With IT security manager, you can create the user. Say for example, there are 10 members who are working for payables department. The 10 members required access to Fusion applications to create the invoices and to process the payments in the instance. Now you need access to IT security manager role so that you can create the new users for those 10 employees who are working for payables department. So the 10 employees who are working for payables department, we have to assign the payable related roles to those 10 users. So these two roles, application implementation consultant and IT security manager, these two roles Oracle is providing. Whatever Oracle provides, that we call as seeded data. We call as seeded data. Now we are talking about what roles. So these, since roles, data is related to roles, that we call as seeded roles. The application implementation consultant and IT security manager, these two roles are mandatory, compulsory for consultants. So these two roles Oracle is providing. Whatever roles Oracle is providing, those we call as seeded roles. So when you assign these two seeded roles to any user, that user can work as a consultant in the instance environment. So whatever we are discussing as instance, this you can call as, you can call it as instance, second, instance you can call, or else you can call as a pod, like iPod, lightweight. Or you can call it as environment also. Okay, you can call it as environment. These three are same. You can call as anything as a instance or pod, or you can call as environment. You can call it as test instance or test pod or test environment, development instance or development pod or development environment, production instance or production pod or production environment. So these three terms are same. Three refers the same meaning. So if you want to do the implementation as a consultant, these two roles are required. So when you get access to fresh instance, Oracle provides the default user called as FA admin, or they may create some other user and they can create. Doesn't matter. They're providing FA admin user or other user. By using that user, we have to log into the instance and we have to create our own user. Okay, we have to create our own user. So that user we call as implementation user. Okay, the fresh instance, whatever the user we create, that user we call as implementation user. When you create implementation user, we have to assign these two roles so that we can start working as implementation consultant. The purpose also we discussed. So any questions on this, please? If no questions, we'll see how to create the implementation user in the system, how we can assign the application implementation consultant and do IT security manager roles to this user. Any questions from anyone, please?
Hello, Lakshman. Earlier in R12 and earlier environments, I mean the application versions, we had the setup at the application responsibility user level. So this is all at the user level, or how does it work, Lakshman?
Yes. When you compare with the EBS, it's different. In EBS, if you want to allow any user to do any activity within the instance, you have to assign the responsibility. Okay. With the help of responsibility, you can allow the users to do any setups, or you can allow the users to perform any transactions. But in the Fusion, instead of responsibilities, we use the roles concept. So directly you can assign the role to user so that the role will allow what according to the user can have behavior within instance.
Okay.
Yeah. Any other questions, please? So any questions from anyone, please?
Sorry, again, I have one more question. Do we have any security aspects as assigned or attached to these roles, Lakshman, going forward?
Yes, definitely. Yes,
Okay.
that is there. Yeah. We'll see all those. Now we are just trying to understand. If you are going to work as a consultant, we required one user. That user required access to which roles we are discussing. Once we get into the system, so with respect to set up one process, with respect to the transaction creation, security is totally different. We'll go through all those points.
Thank you.
Any other questions from anyone, please? Now we'll go and log into the instance and we'll see how to create the implementation user. Okay, so we are going to use one cloud instance. Okay, so you will get access to the instance. What you can do is you log into that instance with the same user what we are going to provide, and you create your own user. What are the setups you are going to do? All the setups you have to do from your own user. Okay, what are the user we will provide for our practice purpose? That is only for the purpose of to create your own user. Just log into the instance with the user credentials, what you get from our team. After that, you can create your own user and you use your user for any sort of practice. Now we'll see how to log into the instance, how to create our own user, how to assign the roles, how the roles you can cross check whether the user got access to the role related privileges and all will verify now. Here I'm going to use one user called as FinIMPL. Okay, FinIMPL. For your practice, you will get different user. With that, you can log in and you can create your own user. So provide username and password, sign in. So what we have to create in the fresh instance, we have to create implementation user. To create the implementation user, here you can see the bar icons. This we call as navigator icon. Here the name you can see as a vision. This is a logo. You can change to other name also. You can upload different logo. The same will get displayed here. And in this page, whatever you see, you will come to know all those very soon. Now we don't require. Our target is user creation. When you get access to fresh instance with the help of Oracle provided user, after connecting to the instance, how to create our own user, we are going to see now. To create our own user, click on these bar icons. It will open the navigator. Just click on this bar icon. Done. In this panel, go to tools section. Okay. Once you click on this navigator icon, it will open the panel. Within this panel, go to tools, expand tools. Once you click on tools, it will expand and it will display multiple tasks here. These all we call as a tasks. This is all we call as a tasks. Now what we want to do, we want to create our own user. So to create our own user, click on security console. Click on security console. So click on this navigator icon, expand tools. Under tools, whatever you see, all we call as a tasks. In the Fusion, whatever we do, that we perform any activity with a task only. These all we call as a different tasks. Now click on security console task. It will take us to the page from where we can create our user. Okay, just click on security console. Click on security console and ignore that message. Okay, ignore that message. Select users. Here, select users and click on add user account. We are going to create the new user. Click on add user account. So here you can provide the user first name, last name, and email ID, and the username and password, and you can confirm the password. And you can notice only last name field is mandatory. You can see the star mark. The first name is not mandatory. The user first name is not mandatory. Last name you have to provide. The email ID also not mandatory. You have to provide the last name and username, and you can set the password. This is how we can create the user. Okay, for our testing purpose, let's create one user called as Google. Okay. Username is, last name I'm giving as Google. The same name system is copying as a username also. Now set password for this user. So when you set the password, you can see the password policy. If you place the cursor on this information icon, help icon, you can see what is the policy you have to follow to set the password. The password policy is very simple. At least 8 characters, 1 number. So that's how you have to set the password. So set password for this user. Set whatever the password you want to set and confirm the same. Now, by clicking on add roles, we can assign the roles to this user. We'll assign roles after some time. First, let's create user. Okay, we given the last name. The same name system is copying as username. Username is nothing but instance login name. And set password and to confirm the password. If you want to change the username, you can change it. The last name it is copying as a username. If you want to change, you can change. Now click on save and close. Our user would be ready. With this user, you can log into the instance. So with this user, you can log into the instance. If you log into the instance with this user, you cannot do anything because no roles are assigned. With this user, you can log into the instance, but no permissions, no privileges. So that is the reason we have to assign the roles to this user. With the help of those roles, this user will be able to perform certain setups or other activities. So from here, let's find out the user, whatever we created. The username is Google. Click on search. You can see display name is Google. Nothing but last name we given, that it is showing as a display name. And the username is Google. And we didn't provide any email ID. And the user record status is active. The user account is not locked. If user account is locked, with this user, you cannot connect to the instance. So here you can perform certain actions against this user record. What are the different actions are available? Let's see. So click on this drop down. Lock account. If you just select lock, it will update this locked status as yes. With this user, you cannot log into this instance. Reset password. Okay, reset password. You just select. And here one point is very important. When you do the practice, you will get on user and to connect to the instance. Please don't practice with that user and don't log that user account. Okay, we have that experience. So when we provide the user for practice, we came across with that issue many times. The who connect to the instance, they are testing by locking that user. When we are locking, other users cannot log in to the instance with the same user. That is the reason. Please don't lock. If you want to log the account, whatever the new user you are creating with that user, you can test it. Okay. If you want to log, simply you can select lock account. Okay. So you are about to log Google. Continue. Say yes. So log. Now, if you want to log into this instance with this Google user, you cannot log in because the account is locked. If you want to unlock, you can click on username, click on edit, you can unlock it. Okay. So uncheck and say save and close. This is how you can lock and unlock. So this information is enough. You don't need to practice locking and unlocking the user. Okay. So that completely you can ignore. Now click on done. And other action what you can perform is you can reset the password. Anytime you can reset the password to this user. So select reset password and say manually change the password, and just provide the password, new password. Okay, if you want to reset the password, if you want to change the password, this is how you can change. Say reset password. So this is how you can reset the password for the user. And what are the other actions we have? Delete user. Yes, it is possible. You can delete the user at any point of time. When you delete the user, reality system is not going to delete the user from the instance. It will keep that user in the database for reference. With this user, you might have completed setups. With this user, there may be a number of transactions. To maintain the history of that activities with this username will remain in the database, but Oracle is restricting the deleted users access from this page. When you perform the delete action, it will be deleted. This user display from this page, not from the database. The database will remain as it is, but you cannot access it. And with the same username, you cannot create the new user. Now, if you delete the Google, from here you cannot find the Google user, but that would be there in the database. If you want to create the new user with the same name, you cannot. Already you deleted, but it would be there in the database. Oracle is restricting that user access from this page only. So that is reason. So even if you delete, okay, that would be there in instance with the same user. You cannot create one more user after deleting also. We never delete the users. If required, you can lock it. We never delete. It is not at all recommended. Okay. So that's what you have to understand. And compare user. If you want to compare one user with another user to understand, so that user is like responsible, or that user got access to what, and with another user, if you want to compare, you can compare one user with another user. If you have more than one user, you can check it. Copy user. You can copy this user. To this user, you may assign the roles. And again, you want to create one more user. Instead of assigning the same roles to other user, if you copy this user, to this user, whatever the roles are already assigned, so those you can use for another user also. For that purpose, you can copy the user. So these are the points we have to understand related to different actions, what we can perform against this user. So any questions on this, please?
Sir, there is a status which say active. So if we uncheck that box, the user can be inactive.
If you uncheck that, yes, user inactive, we are not talking about. Here, when it is a lock, yes, that is inactive only. Okay.
Okay.
Active only. Here, status will remain as active. Even if you lock is set to yes, the status will remain active only. Okay. But that is equal to locking the user is equal to inactive. You cannot log into the instance. Status will remain as active only, but that would be locked is yes means is equal to inactive.
Okay. So, sir, in case if some employees leave the organization, in that case, we will not give an end date. We will lock the user.
That's all. You log them. And again, from employee record, you will set that the termination date or whatever the dates, the last working day, all those details you will update. Okay, that is again totally different. This is implementation user. What we are discussing here is
Okay.
implementation user. It is nowhere related to employee users. Yeah, this
Okay,
is,
sir. Thank you.
Yeah.
So one more question here. In Oracle R12, we were able to see who last updated this record of employee, user. Can we do this here?
Yeah, here also you can see, but not same as EBS. In EBS, you can see the tables also where the data can get stored in which table, which views. But here you can see who created, when they created, who updated, when they updated. That level of information you can see. Wherever it is applicable, I'll show you that. Okay, here it is not applicable. The user creation is not applicable directly. You cannot see. There are certain other pages where you can see if any setup you do or any transaction you create, you will be able to see about that record. Who created, who updated, when exactly, the timestamp and all, everything you will be able to see.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Any other questions?
Sir, could you please click on the option of copy user and show it to us how it would be?
So now see, for this user, nothing is assigned. After assigning, I'll show you that.
Okay, sir. Done.
Do you have something in for this user? No, right? Just only you have username. Okay.
Okay, sir.
If you are copying, it should copy something. Nothing is there. Nothing it will copy. After assigning,
Okay, okay.
I'll show you how to copy.
Okay, sir. Thanks.
Any other questions? Okay, no questions. Now we'll go and assign those two roles. Okay, if you create any implementation user, now Google you can call as implementation user. Okay, we are creating Google from where? Security console. If you go to navigator under tools, we are selecting the task called as security console. If you create any user from security console, that user you can call as implementation user. If you are creating user for implementation purpose, you have to assign the required roles. The roles are two: application implementation consultant, IT security manager. So we'll go and assign those two roles. Just click on username or display name. Click on edit. Here you can see no roles are assigned. Okay, role section, you can see no roles are assigned. Now we are going to assign those two roles. To assign the roles, click on add role tab. Just click on add role tab. So first we have to assign application implementation consultant role, so that this user can perform the setups. Okay, this user can perform the setups for any application. So role name is application implementation. So I'm not typing application implementation consultant, just I type application implementation. Now you see with this application implementation, what are the different roles are available. So you can see one role called as application implementation administrator. The other role also same, both are same. Okay, application implementation administrator, application implementation administrator. Two roles are same. What is the difference? For each role, there is a code. For application implementation administrator role, there is a code called as ASM application implementation. It is starting with the code as ASM. So this role is starting with the code as ORA. Code level, we have a difference. Role name is same. And you can see here application implementation administrator, same role, somebody copied it. So here you can see application implementation administrator copy, somebody copied it. So now we have another role called as application implementation consultant. Okay, application implementation consultant, application implementation consultant. What is the difference between these two roles? Two roles are same, only codes are different. It is starting with ORA, it is starting with just ASM. Okay, application implementation consultant and copy. Somebody copied it, and here you can see the application implementation consultant, one more copy is available. Somebody copied these two roles, somebody copied. And another role you can see application implementation manager, application implementation manager. Two roles are same name, two copies, but role codes are different. It's starting with ORA, it is starting with ASM. Okay. And here you can see application implementation manager copy. So somebody copied. Now, finally, you can see three roles are available. Whether we have a one copy or multiple copy, that is secondary point. The first point is how many roles we have. Three roles we have. Those are application implementation administrator, application implementation consultant, application implementation manager. So if role code is starting with the ORA or without ORA, how those two are different, we will understand. We'll have a separate session how to create our own roles, or simply you can call as how to create the custom roles. In that session, we will discuss what makes the difference between these two roles, which is starting with ORA prefix, which is not starting with ORA prefix. Inside, you can have a same privileges. What you see inside, both are same. For both roles, you will have equal privileges, but this ORA without ORA, it makes small difference that we'll understand very soon. Now, we have an administrator, we have a consultant, we have a manager. As per our discussion, we have to assign the consultant role. Yes, we have to assign consultant role only. Consultant role will have a more privileges compared to administrator or manager roles. Okay, don't assign just administrator or manager roles. You have to assign consultant role. Now we have the consultant role, two copies, okay, with the same name. Which one you have to choose? Anyone you can choose. Okay, anyone you can choose. Simply here you can type application implementation consultant. Okay, you can choose the first one or second one. These copied roles, don't use it. Okay, these two are Oracle is providing. By using these two, somebody created copies. Okay. So I'm selecting first one. Select. So here you can see the same application implementation consultant. Now select this role. Just click on it. It would get selected. Now click on add role membership. Okay, click on add role membership. Now this role will get assigned to our user. In the background, you can see the role is assigned. The application implementation consultant role is assigned to our Google user. Now we have to assign one more role. With the help of application implementation consultant role, from Google user, you can do any application related setups, any application you can implement. But from Google user, if you want to create the new users and if you want to assign the roles to any user, this Google user need access to IT security manager. With the help of IT security manager, you can create the new users and you can assign the roles to those users. So let's assign IT security manager role to this user. Okay. IT security manager. Here you can see the role name is same. IT security manager, IT security manager. The code is different. It is starting with ORA. It is starting with directly FND. Now anyone you can select the same roles somebody copied. Okay, and they just mentioned do not use. They might have done some changes. That is the reason they're recommending. Just these are just copied roles and we did some changes. Don't use those. So you can select it. IT security manager role and select the first record. Okay, IT security manager role. Just select first record. Click on add role membership. So this role will get assigned to our user. 2 roles are assigned. Now click on done. Okay, click on done. Now say save and close. To our Google user, we assign 2 roles so that from Google user, you can work as a consultant. Now just click on done. Now you want to create one more user. To that user also, you want to assign these 2 roles. Now instead of creating user and assigning the roles, you can copy this. If you copy to this user, whatever the roles are assigned, those will be copied to new user. Just you can give the username. You don't need to assign the roles since we are copying. Just go to actions and say copy user. So Google, you are going to copy. So what name you want to give to new user? I want to give XYZ user and set password. So do we need to assign roles? Roles are copied. Roles are copied from Google user. This is how you can do the copy. You can say save and close. Okay, save and close. And for user, you can set certain password policies and you can set certain rules how the name need to be created for user. We'll see all those. First, what we will do is we'll verify. Because of these 2 roles, the user is able to have access to setups page. And because of IT security manager, user will be able to create new users and can be assigned, roles can be assigned or not, we'll check. If you assign application implementation consultant role to any user, that user will get access to FSM. That user will get access to FSM. From FSM only, you can do the setups. If you assign application implementation consultant role to any user, that user can get access to FSM. From FSM only, you can do the setups. What does it mean by FSM? FSM stands for Functional Setup Manager. If you want to do any setups from FSM only, you can do that. If you are working as a consultant, we need access to FSM. How do we get access to FSM? If application implementation consultant role is assigned to our user, we will get access to FSM. From FSM, you can do any setups. And if you assign IT security manager role, you will get access to security console. You will get access to security console. If you get access to security console, you can create the user and you can manage the roles. Managing roles means you can create the roles if required and you can assign the roles to user. So we created implementation user called as, say, Google. Now we'll log into the instance as a Google user. Because of application implementation consultant role, are we able to access the FSM or not? We'll check. If we are able to have access to FSM, there we are able to do the setups or not, we will check it. And we will go to Google user and we'll verify the Google user got access to security console page or not, we will check because of IT security manager. And there we'll see from this Google user whether we are able to create the new users and we can assign the roles or not. We'll check all these points. Okay, we'll check all these points before we go and check any questions, please. You have seen how to create the user, how to assign the roles to the user. The user, whatever we created, that we call as implementation user. We have another type of user also. So that type of user you cannot create now. We have to complete few setups. After completing few setups, then only you can create that kind of that are the different type of users. What are the different type and all we'll discuss when we deal with that concept. For now, simple point is in the fresh instance, you can create only implementation user. In the fresh instance, you can create only implementation user. When you create implementation user, you have to assign these two roles. That's all. Any questions here, please? Okay, no questions. Now. So we'll log into the instance as a Google user and we'll verify the access for the Google user for FSM and security console. You can sign out from the current user. Say confirm. Username is Google. Provide password. Sign in. Now first we'll verify because of application implementation consultant role, the Google user should get access to FSM. We'll check. How to check whether this user got access to FSM or not. You have to click on the username. Okay, you have to click on username. And it's opening on panel. In this panel, you can see one task called as, this all we call as a different tasks. One of the task name is setup and maintenance. Okay, setup and maintenance. So just click on setup and maintenance task. If you are able to see setup and maintenance task from this user, you have to understand this user got access to FSM, functional setup manager. If you assign application implementation consultant role to any user, and you click on that username, you can see the setup and maintenance task within this panel. Anyway, just click on setup and maintenance task. It will take us to FSM page. So this is what we call as FSM page. Now from here, you can do any application related setups. Say you want to implement financials. Here you can select financials. Click on drop down and select financials. So within the financials, if you want to implement general ledger application, you select general ledger application. To implement the general ledger application, what setups we have to do, you can see the list of setups here. Not only this, you can select all tasks. These are the different setups we have to complete to implement the general ledger application. And if you want to implement payables, you select payables. And here you can select all tasks within the payables. What are the different setups are available, you can see here. Okay. And you can complete the setups. If you want to implement the cash management application, cash management and banking means cash management application. You can select cash management, say all tasks, and you can perform the required setups. Say receivables, select. You can see all tasks. This is how you can select the different application and the application specific setups you can do. As a part of implementation, you can complete those setups. So this is what we call as FSM page. From FSM page, this user is able to do the setups. This user is able to access these tasks, means this user can do the setups also. So that's all about getting access to FSM to perform the setups. Okay, after a few classes, we'll start doing the setups from FSM only. Okay, for now, just for information purpose. Now the Google user got access to security console or not, we'll check. Already we assigned IT security manager. If you assign IT security manager to any user, that user should get access to security console. We'll go and verify. So how to check? You can click on navigator icon, the bars icon. Within the navigator, go to tools. Okay, just click on navigator. Under tools, you can find the security console. From Google user, okay, from the Google user, we are able to see security console. That means to Google user, IT security manager role is assigned. That is the reason you are able to see. If you don't assign IT security manager role to Google user, you don't find this security console task under tools section. Now just click on security console. We'll go and verify, are we able to create the new user from the Google user or not. Ignore this message, select users and click on add user account. You can set password. And say save and close. So we are able to create the user from Google user. And if you want to assign any roles to this user, yes, you can assign. You can find the user, whatever the user you created. Okay. If this user is going to work as a consultant, you can assign these two roles, application implementation consultant role. If this user is going to work for payables department, you can assign payables application related roles. Okay, we'll discuss what are the different roles for different applications. For now, our target is how to create our own user and which basic roles we have to assign. What are the basic roles? Application implementation consultant, IT security manager are basic roles to work as a consultant. So we verified this Google user got access to FSM as well as security console also. So any questions from anyone, please? Okay, no questions. Now, so let's go to the user, whatever we created. Even this test one also we created. Go to Google and click on username and click on edit. Here you can notice user category. User category is default. The user category default Oracle is providing. Within this default user category, what we have? We have certain rules. The rules like, so when you create the user, how that username need to be generated automatically, and what is the password policy, and if the user is going to be expired, how many days before the notification should be submitted to the user, the notification should be displayed. Is all you can set in the user category only. User category level only you can set the password policy, how the password we have to set, and when user is going to be expired, so how many days before the notification should be triggered for the user, and how the username need to be generated. Those are all the conditions or rules you can define in the user category only. The category what you see as a default that is provided by Oracle. You see here somebody created additional user categories. We can create our own. Before we go and create our own, first we'll go and verify how this user category called default is available in this instance. Okay. So here, go to user categories, click on user categories. The default is provided by Oracle. These two are created by somebody for practice purpose. Now click on default user category. And here, what is the user name creation rule we have? See here, user name creation generation rule is first name and last name. Okay, first name and last name. We given last name, the last name only it is taking. If you give first name also into last name, both it will combine and it will create the user. Here you can check. You can create the user. I'm giving first name as A, last name as B. Now it is creating username as A.B. That's what we have in the user category. User category level. So that's how we have. Just I'm opening the same instance under a different tab. Okay, same instance you can open multiple times under different tabs. In this, under this tab, user creation page is open. And here, again, I'll go to security console, tools, security console, and go to user categories and open default category. So here the user name generation rule is first name dot last name. That's what you could see here. The first name I given as A, last name B. So A dot B, that's what it's creating. That is as per this default category only. And if you go to password policy, select password policy. So days before password expiry. Okay, how many days before the reminder should be submitted to the user? And again, so here password complexity you can see. They selected a password complexity as a simple, at least 8 characters, 1 number. So that's what system will display here. Whatever the rule is available as per this default category, same system is displayed. Okay. So that's how you can see like how many days before password need to be expired and what should be the password policy and how that username need to be generated. So all you can set in the category. If you want to modify the category which Oracle is providing, you can do that. You can click on edit and you can say days before password expiry notification, 10 days before. Okay, before 10 days, system has to display the notification to the user as password is going to be expired. And here you can set password complexity, how it should be. They selected as simple. Simple means minimum 8 characters, minimum 1 digit. Select complex. In case of complex, it is adding. So the minimum, okay, letters in uppercase, minimum 1 uppercase is required. When you set the password, minimum 1 uppercase is required. If you select very complex, so minimum 8 characters, 1 uppercase, and minimum 1 digit, and 1 special character also required. Or else you can select custom. You can specify here how many characters, say 9 characters. 1 uppercase is required, 1 lowercase is required, 1 digit should be there, 1 special character should be there. This is how you can set in case of custom. You can decide when you are going to set the password for any users. So what is the policy need to be followed that you can set it up. Okay. So this is how you can set the rules. Okay. That's how you can set the rules. And that's all. Like your details level. Here what you can do is you can go to edit the details, go to edit, and they already selected username generation rule is first and last name combination. If you provide only last name, with the last name only, it will create the user. You can change this. You can say email. If you say email, whatever the email ID you enter for the user, when you select email, when you create the user, the email ID field will be mandatory. It will change from optional to mandatory. You have to provide the email ID. The same email ID system will copy as a user. So that's how you can use this email option, or else first last name. Okay, first last name. From first name it will take 1 letter, then it will copy the last name. That's how it will create the username. Okay, so this already being used. person or party number. Okay, the user numbers and all need to be generated. Now, ideally, it is not applicable for implementation user. If user is related to employee, these are applicable. So this is how you can set how you require. For our understanding purpose, let's create one template. Okay, for user category template, let's create one user category. So click on create. Okay, go to details. You just click on edit first. Click on edit. User category name is, say, Google, or you can give as a XX. Means ideally when we create something new as a customization, we represent with XX. Okay, so this is how we represent. This is a user category name we are giving. Ideally you can write as Google. Okay, and when you are going to create the user, by using this user category, what rule is applicable for name generation? I'm selecting email ID and say save and close. Just wait for a moment. It takes time to just save and do. Allow us to set other information. Okay, done. Email we selected. The same way you can select the password policy also. Okay, if you want to change, you can change. Say complex. Okay, one uppercase also mandatory now. Now say save and close. Click on done. Now, if you try to create user by selecting that template, category template, what we created, accordingly how to provide the data. So now with the default, email ID is not mandatory. If you select the category what we created, so email ID is mandatory. So here you can provide any data, ABC I'm giving. The same it is copying as username, but email ID is mandatory. So I'm providing email ID as a abc@gmail.com. Now it will copy that email ID to username. Just use tab. It will copy the email ID as a username. So that's how we have a rule in this category. This category, that's how we provided rule. Okay. So that's what you have to understand. So password and all, we change the password policy also. If you place the cursor here, it shows at least 8 characters, one uppercase and one number. So that's how you have to provide. If you use default, as per default, what rules are applicable. So you can create a user. Email ID also not mandatory in case of default. So this is all about user categories. Okay, to set the password policy and name generation rule, we can use user categories. Any questions on this, please?
Yeah, I've got a couple of questions, if you don't mind.
Yeah.
Okay, one on a simple question. If I have to make certain fields more mandatory, if I want to make the email as mandatory, how is it possible?
So by default, you want to make it as mandatory.
Yeah.
You have to do the personalizations. Okay.
So in the category, I can't make that email as mandatory.
Yeah, that you can make mandatory, that we have seen, right? Apart from that, always if you come to this page, okay, you want to make it as mandatory and all the fields you want to make it as mandatory, that options are not available here, right?
Yeah, in the default, we didn't see it.
Yeah, here you can, if you want to change, here you can select.
No, that's a username. No, wait, that's a username generation. That has nothing to do with this. I'm asking whether.
No, that's what. If you select email, the email field will become mandatory, then only that email will be copied to username. That's
correct. But a username, I still want to be first name, last name. Okay, I want the email to be mandatory.
Yeah, with the help of technical team, you can ask them to write the personalization rules. They can write the personalization. They can set up the personalization. There they can write some conditions. Okay. So accordingly, the fields can be converted into temporary, like mandatory or optional. And whatever you are asking, that name generation can be generated. Here, whatever the options are available, simply you can go and set. Apart from that, if you need anything else, with the help of technical team, you can just ask them to personalize as per your requirement.
Okay, fine. That is one. The second thing is, second question which I had was like, let's say we created 100 users,
Okay.
right? And we had the password expiration as, let's say 90 days, right? And then we later in the default, we had come as of today and just said that every 10 days you need to change the password. I'm just making it up just for the understanding purpose,
Yes,
right?
sir.
Every 10 days you need to change the password.
Yeah.
Well, all the 100 people who have gone past 10 days, will they get a notification?
Yes.
They will get a notification.
Yes,
Right?
they will get notification. So ideally, see, this is the implementation user. Here you may provide email ID, may not. When you create the employee users who are working in the organization as employees who need access to instance, they have to provide email ID as mandatory. They'll get an email notification.
Okay, they'll get an email notification, but even though they are created earlier, all the 100 people who have gone past more than 10 days will get a notification saying that the password has to be changed.
So
Correct?
those users are created with which user category? Accordingly, they'll get the notification.
No. Okay. Okay, let me re-step it. Okay, 100
Lakshman,
users
I
are
think
created.
the question probably is retrospectively or prospectively.
I think if they
No,
have
let him go ahead.
Okay.
Again.
So I'm just going to break the steps. Okay, you created 100 users, all 100 users has a default category. Okay, we are done.
Default category. Okay.
Yeah, everything is 90 days of expiration is done, right? Maybe after a month, the company has changed the rules saying every 10 days you need to change the password. So we came to the default category and then we edited saying if no more 90 days is a policy, it's a 10 more days. Every 10 days you need to change the password. So if that comes up, assuming 99 people have gone past more than 10 days, will all the 99 people will get an email
it will be
saying,
applicable for all. Okay.
oh,
So it will
right.
verify which template is mapped with the user creation. Accordingly, it will be applicable. Even if you do the changes later also, that would reflect.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I assume that if you change it from user creation from first name, last name to an email, for the future things, it will do it. I guess, right? That's the way it should have been programmed, correct?
Yes, yes.
Okay, cool. Thanks.
Any other questions, please?
Sir, what is the meaning of add auto provision roles?
That you will understand. Now we cannot do that. We cannot test it. We need employee. Then you can test this.
Okay. Okay.
When we are ready with
and so-
employee, so we can see how it works. With implementation user, you cannot test it.
Okay. Okay. So, sir, I was not there in the first two class. So this instance which you're using, which release and which version is this?
It's the latest one. I'll talk about that. That also I'll show you. We'll discuss detail level. Okay. Maybe we'll talk about that instance versions, releases in the next session. This is the latest one. To answer your question, so release 13.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
And again, you have to understand the patches, etc. Those points we'll discuss very detailed level in the tomorrow session. Okay, just today, we plan for user creation and this category and roles, what roles need to be assigned. That's what we plan. The tomorrow session, I'll take you through from where you can find. So from the instance directly, you can go and check. If you get access to any instance, you can go and verify the complete information related to version and releases. And with the patch application, how latest patches are applied, all those points we'll discuss in the tomorrow session. Any other questions? Please? Yeah. Any questions? Okay. So we're done for today. If you have any questions, you can stay back. We'll discuss. Otherwise, no further discussions. We'll connect tomorrow same time. In tomorrow's session, we'll more talk about what is FSM. From FSM, we have to create the implementation project. We have a concept called as offerings and options. We have to enable those. And we'll talk about that version and releases of the Fusion instance. We'll focus on all these points. If you have any questions, please let me know. We'll discuss. If no questions, we'll connect tomorrow same time.
I've got a question, if you
Please.
don't mind. Yeah. So you had given a laundry list of things what we're going to accomplish, right? In this functional thing. Is there a mapping between which day you're going to cover what? Like how you're talking about, in detail, like today we're doing
Not
just
exactly date for each and everything. I'll let you know the sequence.
Okay. So yeah, on and off, like, even if you cover 80% of it or you add on, because, sometimes it might take a longer time, that is okay. But if we have a, day 3, day 4, day 5, we're going to cover these, right? Day 6, we're going to cover that. So it'll be always, we'll be able to hedge ourselves, like, which are the important days we don't want to miss, or certain days even miss is okay. We can always look at
I'll let you know after a few classes if you want to know that. Okay. I'll tell you the complete sequence of applications. First, what application we are going to pick. Second application is what, third application, fourth, fifth. The sequence I'll let you know. So based on the sequence, may not be exactly tentative dates also.
That's okay. That is okay.
Yeah.
And the next one is the instance what you're giving, right? So these instances won't be refreshed until the time frame.
I'll provide two type of instances. Okay. I'll provide non-refresh instances as well as refresh instances also. Non-refresh instances, what happens is if you do any setups, if I go and create the user, that information will be there for forever. Oracle is not going to delete it, remove it. And other instances are frequently they refresh, maybe weekly or 10 days or 2 weeks or 1 month, different schedules. There is no fixed schedule for that. Intentionally, Oracle does that because when we are using that instances for practice purpose, always those instances should be healthy because there's a practice instances. People will come and disturb, right? The technical can use this instance, functional people can use that. They will be testing with a variety of definitions, knowingly, unknowingly, they'll just create 50% setups, or wrongly they may create, wrongly they may just go and touch some sensitive information. That is the reason when you are practicing, if that is going to be as it is, and later who are going to try with that instance, they cannot practice. So that is the reason Oracle weekly or 2 weeks once or 3 weeks once or monthly once they do the data refresh. Okay.
Agreed.
So that instance I'll provide the instances where Oracle is not going to touch those to refresh. What are the setups you create, those will remain as it is. You can use both, but what are the instances Oracle is providing where no refresh takes place, you will come across sometimes some issues in that, but I'll help you on that to fix and to go ahead. So you will get two type of instances. I'll share both.
Okay. Perfect. So when we are doing this entire process, specifically with intercompanies and whatnot, right? So you're going to walk us through, like, for example, we're going to take Google India, Google US, and then how we're going to do the intercompany between that, right? So those setups which you're doing subsequently, which we have to ensure that it doesn't get refreshed, because that's what is going to be our prototype, how we are creating it.
Yeah, definitely. Right? See, whatever I am going to just show you in the classes, I'll take care of that part. Okay. Otherwise, how come we can have a discussion?
Yeah, because we're going to build.
I'll take care of it. See, for example, if I'm creating, doing some setup, say an instance will get refreshed, but by the time of next session, which we are going to held, I have to keep the same ready.
Yeah.
Right. I have to keep the same ready in the instance. Even if it got refreshed, I have to keep it ready, and we have to sync with the previous class. We should be able to connect to the previous class. So we should not lose any previous data or previous setups. That I'll take care.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
So that's all I had. Thanks.
Okay, great. Yeah, thanks. Any other questions, please?
Lakshman, for this user accounts page, especially when we talked about the categories, this we don't have any personalization on this per se page.
You can do personalizations for any page. Okay, any page you can do the personalizations depending on what type of personalizations you require. You can inform to technical team, they can do that. Okay. If it is a simple personalizations, you can do in case of SaaS. If heavy personalizations, you cannot do in the SaaS. You can do only in the PaaS.
Okay.
Okay, simply you want to disable one field. You want to disable the tab. You want to make optional field as a mandatory, or else you want to write simple condition. You can do everything in the PaaS with the help of technical team. If you want to write some custom procedures, if the value so and so display this, if value so and so don't display that, some kind of conditions, multiple rules if you want to write, that is not possible in the SaaS, possible only in the PaaS.
Got it. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks. So if any questions, please. If no questions, we'll wind up for today. We'll connect tomorrow, same time. Seems to no questions. Thank you all. See you tomorrow, same time. Thanks.